In this video, we're going to implement the solution to this Gaddis problem. So we did a flowchart in a previous video. Here's the flowchart that we did. The simple question, the assignment here is we're designing a program that asks the user to enter their city and state, and then we use an if statement to output 4 different options depending on what they entered. So we did a flowchart for that. Here's our flowchart: declare two variables, do an input for the state, do an input for the city. Then we have 3 if statements using the and operator to output 1 of 3, and then there's a final else here at the end. So there's 4 possible outputs. So we're going to implement this in Java using Visual Studio Code. So here's Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to open a folder. I'm going to go to my class. I'm going to create a new folder called week 5. And then I'm going to create a new folder for simple if. Let's call it where do you live? Okay. And create, and then we're going to go ahead and open that. So here's our folder, where do we live? So this is our folder. I'm going to create a new file by clicking the new file button right here. My new file is going to be WhereDoYouLive.java. Okay. And I'm using the upper camel case there to name my class, to name my Java file. That will also be the name of my class. Okay. So it's WhereDoYouLive.java. We see down here at the bottom that VS Code is activating the Java extensions. So I'm going to wait just a minute, because once that's activated, then I'll get all the quick fixes and the help that make it really easy to write my code. Okay, so it's ready. So now the first thing we need is a public class. Where do you live? And open the class. Okay, now remember, the name of the class, where do you live, has to be exactly the same as the name of the Java file. Okay, so you say public class, and then we put the open and closing brackets, curly braces. So that's define my block. Next, I need the main, public static void main. So I get a quick fix here. So this is VS Code helping me avoid some typing. So I'm just going to use that. Okay, so now I need to declare 2 variables. If we go back to our flowchart, we're going to declare 2 variables, and then we're going to prompt to enter the state, and then take input, and then we're going to prompt to enter the city and take input. So I'm going to declare 2 variables: string city, string state. Okay, there's my declares. Next, I'm going to prompt, so I'm going to say system.out.println. What state do you live in? Then I'm going to read. So I'll use a scanner to read, which, remember, we have to do an import for the scanner, but we can use the quick fix in VS Code to help us do that. So I'm just going to do an assignment value. So I'm going to say state equals scanner. Whoops, I have to declare the scanner first. So we're going to say scanner sc equals new scanner system.in. Okay. Notice I'm getting the red squiggle underlined. That means something is wrong here. So when I hover over it, it says scanner cannot be resolved to a type. So I can use quick fix here to say import the scanner. It puts the scanner right at the top. Okay, so now my red squiggles are gone. I still have yellow squiggles, but this is because I've declared variables without using them, but I'm going to use them now, so we can ignore that for now. State equals scanner dot next line. Since I'm using string values here, I don't have to do any kind of parsing. I'm just going to read it as a string from the user. So let's do the city. City equals scanner dot next line. Okay, let's go ahead and save that. We'll save that with Control S. I'm just going to go ahead and run this. because I've typed some code. I want to make sure that it's working the way I want it to. So right now it should just prompt me for these two things. But it won't actually do anything other than that. Okay, so that's working the way it should be right now. So we're not finished, but I haven't made any mistakes, and the code is working as I expect it to at this point. Okay, so now let's do our if statements. So first thing I want to do is test for, I want to test for state equals Texas and city equals San Antonio. Okay, and I'm going to do this case insensitive. So I'm going to say if state dot equals ignore case Texas and city dot equals ignore case San Antonio. Okay. Now I need to make sure that my test is all lower uppercase because I'm ignoring case here on city. I need to make sure that my test is lowercase there. So ignore case San Antonio. So if that's true, okay, then this will be you are my neighbor. Okay. System.out.println, you are my neighbor. Okay. If that's not true, then I have an else here. And then I'm going to do another if statement. Okay. This if statement is going to be if the state dot equals ignore case Texas and city dot equals ignore case Austin, then, okay, now what? System.out.println, you live in the capital city. Okay, else. This one is just on the state dot equals ignore case Texas. So I don't need an and there. So I'm just going to say system.out.println. I hope to visit your town soon. Okay, we could actually just put in here, let's put the name of the town. That wasn't part of the problem, but let's see. I hope to visit plus city. So we'll just concatenate the town in there. Okay, so this will say, I hope to visit Amarillo soon, or whatever we put in there. Finally, we have a final else. There's no if on this one because this is just every other condition. System.out.println. We'll say, maybe you should move to Texas. Okay, all right, let's see if that works. We'll run it a couple of times. What state do you live in? We'll say Texas, San Antonio. You are my neighbor. Okay, so that's exactly what we wanted. So we executed this line right here on line 14. Okay, let's run it again. What state do you live in? Let's say Texas. Let's say Austin. Let's make sure it's really case insensitive like that. You live in the capital city. Okay, good. That's what I wanted it to do. Okay, what state do you live in? Texas, Amarillo. I hope to visit Amarillo soon. Okay, that's what we wanted. And let's do one more. What state do you live in? Oklahoma, Tulsa. Maybe you should move to Texas. Okay. We could do this again and say, what state do you live in? We could say Oklahoma, and we could say Austin. So in this case, we should still get, maybe you should move to Texas, because even though we use Austin as the city right here, we have to meet both of these conditions, Texas and Austin. And so in this case, since we had Oklahoma and Austin, we didn't meet that condition. So we fall out here in the final else statement. Okay. All right. So that's it. That's the Java implementation of the program. Last thing I can do, I have a little yellow underline here on the scanner that says the scanner's never closed. So what I can do is just after the end of my last statement, I can just close that scanner. Okay, let's run it one more time just to make sure that we're good. What state do you live in? Texas, Lubbock. Okay, all right, I think we're done.